How's it going, everybody? Today I'm going to review my Tissot PRX. This one's the green dial and it's the Powernatic 80 version. So I never really considered a watch of this style. I think that I'm more attracted to tool watches, but recently I've kind of been interested in the PRX, mostly because they released a green dial and I've never really had green dial watches, at least not ones like this, so I decided to buy one. Frankly, it was a bit of an impulse buy. I kind of thought, man, why did I get this? But after wearing it for a bit, it's pretty nice. I've never actually owned a Tissot before. I guess my wife has a Tissot Couturier watch, automatic, which is a nice watch. But I personally have never worn a Tissot. And when we got the Couturier Tissot watch of hers, I was pretty impressed with the quality, actually. The Tissot 1973 Heritage, that was probably one of the more interesting Tissots I've seen. And so anyways, I started to pay attention to the brand more. From what I understand, PRX means precise and robust in English. In French, it seems like there are different terms for this that Tissot had over the years. Précis et robuste, also in French, or also particulièrement robuste, or particulièrement résistant. So part of my French, my accent isn't very good, but my wife's French, so I like to read articles and stuff in French to teach myself French a little bit. But in any case, it seems like PRX, from what I understand, is precise and robust, and then the X is 10 bar. This is kind of a hyped watch. I don't typically buy watches because of the hype, but I think that this is a great introduction for me in this case style. That's kind of the story of me with the brand and my attraction to the watch. I've always known Tissot, very popular. You always see them in, for me at least, watching IIHF hockey, but I think they advertise in the NBA now too, so always been aware of Tissot. I've just never really been attracted to them for whatever reason, but anyways, this watch was trying something new. I don't typically buy watches like this. I always buy tool watches for the most part, dive watches and aviation style watches, but this is something new and I figured I'd try it out. The first selling point for this watch really is the price. You're not going to get too many watches of this style for the price point. You can get discounts as well. I bought this one on sale. They had a good offer. It was on offer at a local shop here where I live, and so I picked it up in person. I wanted the green dial. I saw all three dials, but I like the green. It's something different. I don't have green, so the price point's pretty good. It's, I guess, entry-level price. It kind of feels weird to say that this is a great deal or it's not that expensive because it's still a lot of money. It's retails, I think, like around $650 USD, about $895, I believe, in Canada. So it's not like that's not, it's expensive for a lot of people. That's especially for watches, but relative to watches, this price isn't too bad. So I quite like the watch. The fitment of the watch is very comfortable. It wears a little bigger than I thought it would, actually. It's quite thin, but it's quite comfortable to wear. I think that this would go with any sort of attire. The dial on this watch is green and it has a tapisserie motif. I think that's a really good feature. It's tricky to get into watches with that motif. You have to go and increase your price point. And so I think that that's a great feature that really attracted to me the watch. The rest of the dial has applied indices. They're very thin, simple hands. Tissot 1853, PRX, Powernatic 80s, and the dates. So pretty simple dial, but I think it's effective. It's elegant, I would say, and I like the dial. The date wheel is white. Some people might like a matched date wheel. I think it makes it easier to read personally, so I'm okay with that. This watch has a sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating. It's not the best AR coating I've ever seen, but it's certainly not the worst. The case itself is quite thin. It's comfortable. I really like this integrated style. I mean, I like it now that I have it. I was never super attracted to one of these, but I decided to try it. But I like it. It's comfortable to wear. The bracelet integrates nicely with the case, and the finishing is great. When you wear it on your wrist, you can see the reflections of the flat, polished links, and I think that's really nice. I think that really makes this watch more attractive. You don't really see too many watches, especially at this price level, that look like that, so I think it's good. The quality of the finishing is excellent. The brushing is pretty good for the price, I would say. It's pretty good in general. The bracelet itself has a butterfly clasp. I'm not the biggest fan of those. But I think for this style, and basically all of these sort of 70s integrated style bracelets all have that. If you look at the Maurice Lacroix Icon, the Frédéric Constant High Life, they all kind of have that, and all the way up to the APs and the VCs and all these things, they all have that style. So that it kind of comes with the territory. So willing to compromise. The bracelet is sized with pins, clipping pins or friction pins. Super easy to size. They weren't in there tight at all. They were very easy to size. I just used a cheap punch off of Amazon. Comes with half links too. I have a 7.5-inch wrist, a little smaller maybe now, just under 7.5 probably. I took 2 links out, 2 full-size links out, and it fit me. You have to wear the watch a little bit loose because your wrist expands and contracts throughout the day, and so because there's no adjustment, no micro adjustment with these style clasps, that's kind of something you have to think about. So I have it a little bit loose, but I tend to wear watches loose anyway, so for me that's not a big deal. The quick release bracelet is a nice feature as well. I noticed that Tissot now has some bracelets you can purchase on their site, I guess straps that you can purchase on their website. And that's a fun feature because getting new straps for this might be tricky because of the integration. It's not just a generic width, so that's nice. I would imagine they'll probably offer more of those in the future, so I think that's cool. The movement is the Powernatic 80. This one's pretty good. It's a little fast. I think this one's about +7-ish. Maybe slightly a little bit better sometimes. I'm not super religious when it comes to testing accuracy, so it's just sort of anecdotal, so just take that with a grain of salt. I don't have a time graph or anything like this. That's fine for me. Again, I don't wear watches enough to be strict with the time keeping. I have so many that I just rotate. This also has a Nivicon balance spring. I'm not going to pretend to know what that is, but Tissot mentions that it's anti-magnetic and it's based on titanium, or a titanium alloy, so I guess that's good. I think any degree of anti-magnetism is a pretty good feature in a watch these days. Power reserve is 80 hours. That's probably the biggest attraction to this. You're pretty hard-pressed to find watches at the more entry-level price point with that much power reserve, aside from all the Swatch Group offerings with Powernatic 80s, so cool movement. I would say that the one downside to the movement is that it has a reduced beat rate, so if you kind of like the typical ETA 2800 beat rate, this does not have that. This is Seiko level. This is 21.5, I think. So it's a little more jittery, but again, if you're used to wearing Seikos and things like this, it's totally fine. I don't really notice it so much, but yeah, something to point out. Crown has a signed Tissot T on it. Simple crown. It's a little smaller for folks like me who got big fingers, but it's easy to wind. It pops easily enough. It doesn't screw down. There's 100 meters of water resistance with this watch, which is totally fine, I think. I'm fine with not having a screw down crown either. I'm never going to swim with this or anything like that, so I think that's fine. Negatives for this watch, not too many. I would say probably the dial color for me. I bought the green. It looks a little brighter when you look at it on the website. When you see it in person, it's very dark. In the case, they had 3 of them. They had the blue, the black, the green, and I couldn't even tell which was the green one at first because it looks almost black and dark light, which the blue kind of does too. However, I can see, if you have a green dial like this, it will look good with all kinds of attire because it's not super bright green, so you can wear this with anything. It makes sense when you look at it with that logic, but I would like a little lighter green personally, but I can live with this. Other negatives, not too many, honestly. I think that the pins and all that might be a bit of a negative, but it helps keep the bracelet really thin. So I think pins are fine for me personally. The bracelet is not super tight fitting together. It's pretty good. It's better than other watches that I have that are a little higher price point, but it's not a luxury finished bracelet. This almost feels like a vintage watch in some ways with the bracelet, but it's pretty good. I think it's good for the price point. It's fluid. It's very comfortable. Other negatives, nothing much. I think this is a great watch, and I feel like I'm somebody who's also jumping on board the hype train or the bandwagon, but I think it's a legitimate thing to say that this is a good quality watch, especially for the price point. I hate to keep using that caveat because I don't know, it makes it feel like it's sort of a consolation prize when you keep saying price point, but it's a great price, especially if you can get these things on offer, on sale. There's not really any downsides to it. So that's my review, my quick review of the Tissot PRX Powernatic 80 version with the green dial. Appreciate everybody watching my videos. I don't put videos out as much, but in any case, thank you for watching, and take care. Bye-bye.